I love horror games. Sure, while most horror games are garbage, every once in a while, amidst the gravely oversaturated horror landscape, some stand out and create captivating, charming, and unsettling experiences. I think that too often, horror devs focus solely on making you terrified instead of making you enthralled. I will 100% of the time prefer a slightly scary horror game that is super interesting and fun to play over a super scary ultimate terror nightmare fest that is full of repetitive, monotonous, and boring gameplay. Uktena 64 is a game where we play as a man named Jeb. His buddy calls him up with an offer to hunt infected wildlife and photograph them. Jeb needs the money because apparently his channel got demonetized. And no, I am not joking.
Nah, you're right. My channel got demonetized anyway.
We grab our rifle, our knife, and break open this barrel to find Jeb's camera. Because, for some reason, Jeb put it in a barrel. We then move over to the squirrel to... No. No! We snap a nice picture of the squirrel. Jeb makes an odd comment.
Oh, he's thick.
And we move on to our first level, Turkey Creek, which sounds suspiciously like Beaver Creek. And look at all these difficulty selectors. It's all a Halo reference! Residents have gone missing, and strange birds have been sighted in the area, so we're here to get rid of these pesky turkeys. We make our way to the building where we can find a turkey call. We test it out and call in a turkey, which... Why is it chasing me? After dealing with him, we catch a nice flick and continue our hunt. On a rock, we can find this book. It tells the story of an old Cherokee myth about large snakes with two horns. The only way to kill one was to shoot it in its seventh stripe. One day, a Shawnee youth was held captive by the Cherokees. He was told he could achieve freedom if he were to kill one of these snakes. He searched and eventually found one. He made a circle of fire with pine cones, shot the snake in its seventh stripe, and jumped in the circle of fire to prevent the snake's poison from reaching him. And in doing this, he earned his freedom. Moving on, we can find this turkey hiding in a barrel, which is insane. And next to the chicken coop, we can find this note.
My chickens starved. I fed them, but they must have been sick. No matter how much feed they had, they didn't eat. I watched them wither away in just a matter of days.
Across the river, we can find this area, where we use our turkey call, and this abomination shows up. Next to the spot we called him in, we can find this note.
Something ate all my fish. This was my lucky fishing spot, but it's been dead for a week straight.
There's something about this type of horror game that is so oddly comforting. Despite the fact that the game was made to be scary, and despite the fact that there's a constant fear of being murdered by a violent turkey, the art style here is beautiful, and the ambience is so comforting. And weirdly, I don't imagine it being as comforting if the horror element weren't here. Over here, next to these houses, we can find this dead body, with a note next to it reading,
I can't believe my eyes. It's the turkeys.
Makes me smile.
Over in this corner of the map, we call in more turkeys. And this note is filled with gibberish, but when put through a Caesar cipher, we get this.
Praise our newfound God! The seed from beyond took root beneath our hallowed hills!
And then we make our way to the truck, before moving on to the next level, Frigid Valley. In this cabin, we can find this book. It tells of how the sun sent a sickness to destroy man, and the people retaliated by turning a man into a monster snake named the Uktena, and sending it to kill the sun. When the Uktena failed, the people sent the rattlesnake instead, and banished the angry Uktena away. Yet the Uktena left some of its offspring behind, and they still remain in the high mountains and deep rivers. Moving along, we find our first group of wolves. We shoot them and discover an odd infection growing on one of the wolves, and the infection is only more widespread in the next group of wolves we find. As we move toward the final group of wolves, we can hear an elk bugling. Concerned for its safety, we hurry toward the infected wolves to find the elk, rampant with infection. And the wolves we were here to hunt are skinned and strung up in the trees, with one of them even being stuffed into this trailer. The art style of this game is so unbelievably well done. Throughout the game, and especially in this section of the level, all the photos of the wolves look so creepy. I remember thinking to myself that this looks like something you'd find in a supernatural documentary. The framing on each shot looks so perfect, and the horrifying reveal of the elk having killed the wolves is amazing. There is no terrifying jump scare or cutscene to reveal it. Making the audience piece it together themselves is so much more rewarding. Upon taking a picture of the elk, the infection shivers. It's hard to notice, but it's a really creepy detail. Inside this trailer, the TV plays static. And I don't play around with that crap. And over in this cabin, we can find a series of notes.
Terrible ringing in my head gets louder by the day, accompanied by freakish nightmares. Last night, I was visited by distorted, vicious owls. They warned me of something, and I felt complete dread overwhelm me. I knew it was a dream, but I was so worried. I didn't know what I was worried about. I just felt terror. Maybe something happened in that dream that I can't remember now.
In the next note,
the ringing seems louder near the heart of the forest, like it has direction now. My dreams haven't stopped either. They just keep getting worse. I remember less and less of my dreams, but the feeling of complete terror lingers in my skull. Something about a crow or a vulture, and my veins had become vines.
In the snow outside the cabin, boot prints lead to another note.
I no longer can tell if I'm awake. The sound is so loud. I must escape.
The boot prints continue to a pile of clothes, and then bare footprints lead into a frozen lake. On our way back, we can discover this circle of stones with some sort of flesh in the middle. And as we pass the locations of the previously killed wolves, they return to life, notably without their skin, and they attack us once more. The snowman's position has shifted since we arrived, and if we hit its head with the knife... Now it's time for the next level, Howling Marsh. There's bears in these woods, and apparently they are screaming. As we move toward the town, Jeb shares his understandable concern for the situation.
I'm not so sure about this.
Upon taking down the first bear, we see that its entire skull has been skinned. We move inside the church.
Ooh, smells like barbecue in here.
There's a locked hatch in the back and a revolver on the pulpit, and on one of the pews, a note.
The end has come. All is nigh. To lose oneself, as I shall, is a worse death. They could not understand my mercy. When the time shall come for burial, you may retrieve the key from the old graveyard.
We continue hunting and take down another bear. Near it, we find a trailer with a note inside.
Someone must have slipped me something the other night. While surveying, I fell into a dreamlike state. I only have brief memories of the trek. And at some point, I gathered a bunch of strange iridescent seeds. I've planted a few and will document their growth.
Outside, we find an overgrown greenhouse and another note.
I feel at fault for what has happened, but how could I have known? The seeds I brought back with me spread like a fire. It's more animal than plant, and seems drawn to blood.
Then, we venture to the graveyard. We shoot the last bear and grab a key near one of the graves. Back in the church, we use the key to open the hatch, and we go down it to find a pile of dead bodies, overgrown with a strange plant and a flower blooming out of the top. Taking a picture, the counter goes up by 6, implying that there are 6 bodies in this pile. Going back outside, a bear appears. He's grossly infected and swarmed with flies, and upon taking a picture, the infection shivers just like with the elk. We return to the truck and end the level. The final level, Bleeding Grove, has only one subject to photograph, and it takes place deep in the forest. Moving through the forest, we can come across this tent with another ciphered note.
I become more than one. I grow and stretch and twist, like my followers before me. Oh, what a dreadful dream, to die, but keep growing.
Inside this building, we can find another book detailing the history of the Uktena. It tells of the man who kept the crystal from the Uktena's head. The crystal was wrapped in a whole deer skin and hidden away in the mountains. Every 7 days he would feed it by rubbing the blood of small animals on it. Twice a year it would need the blood of a deer or other large animal. If he were to forget to feed it, it would come out of its cave as fire and seek to quench its thirst. In an adjacent room, we can find a note.
I waited until I could no longer resist the hunger. As I write, and as I die, I feel distorted. My veins and spindly organs are twisting and growing beyond me. I rejected this metamorphosis, and now I'm going to be left behind while my body keeps going. Please, do not look for me, for I am long gone.
At the end of the valley, there's one final house. Inside, the plant has grown rampant, and on a table we find this note.
There's almost no food left. I feel myself slipping away. I will not succumb to the call of the wood. I will resist.
In this room, we find a man who's starved to death. We take his rifle and return to the truck, where we finally face the Uktena. As we fight, crystals appear on its back. Shooting them greatly damages the snake. A circle of fire has appeared around us, reminiscent of the story of the Cherokee youth. Upon killing the beast, it spits out a large seed. And then...
No. What have I done? This isn't right. This isn't right at all.
Uktena 64 is among the most charming horror games I've ever played. I wouldn't venture to call it terrifying, and it's not exactly known for its overwhelming horror, but the beauty of the gameplay, storytelling, and art style is what makes the game so perfect. MapFriend is a state-of-the-art 3D street POV exploration tool.
Did you know? Click on a location. Did you know? To go back to the map view, click on me. Yay!
A description of the Westwater View camping grounds is shown on screen, and we return to the map view. Dropping MapFriend in a different location, we see a description of Willow Beach. Toward the end of the description, we read, "The town is most known for the infamous Petersburg airstrip, where a large icon appears. If we click on it...
Great exploring! Collect more explore orbs to travel to new locations.
We drop MapFriend on the last location, and read about Willow Forest. We collect another explore orb and return to map view to see another location has appeared in the middle of the ocean. Dropping MapFriend on it...
The water is too far away for an emergency. No info on this location. Maybe something is wrong? I think you're looking for somewhere else.
We gather the third explore orb and use them to travel to a new location. We then drop MapFriend on our new location. A description appears for a moment before disappearing. If we catch it before it disappears, it reads, "According to Western Aviary, reports of crashes are very rare. In fact, their fatality record has been very low compared to most companies. CEO John Slater said in a statement, 'We were very concerned about the recent accident, but we ensure to our customers that we drop MapFriend next to the long road. A string of text appears describing National Route 6, however, the text keeps glitching, and letters appear and disappear frequently. The text says there's no info on this location.
Why are you looking here? Wasn't it in a forest? Sorry, MapFriend can't help you with this location. I'm just the co-pilot.
We drop MapFriend on the final location in the middle of the desert.
Did you know? It was a pleasure flying with you.
The text describes different facts about the desert, with most discussing its harsh climate. Right at the end, it reads, If you have to make an emergency aircraft landing in the desert, it's important to stay calm and assess the situation. Using our Explore orbs, we travel to a new location. We type in a string of coordinates.
Did you know? The crosswinds were steady at 20 knots. Now it's 30 knots. Did you know? You couldn't have known, Captain.
Dropping MapFriend on the location, we load into a view of a crashed aircraft. And clicking on the marker, MapFriend tells the story of a plane pilot who had to emergency land in less than ideal conditions, resulting in the deaths of many or all of the passengers. Now, from either real life or some sort of purgatory, he sits and mulls over historic emergency landings, thinking of what he could have done differently.
On October 22nd, 1999, Daniel Leonard and his friend Heather Myrick went missing while on a camping expedition. Despite ground and aerial search attempts, no trace of Daniel or Heather was ever found. October 22nd, 1999.
The House in the Woods is a terrifying game. Up until this point, I've covered games that, while very fun, creative, and interesting, weren't exactly known for being genuinely horrifying. This game is not that way. The House in the Woods is a perfect example of how to make a game terrifying. On a tree near the campsite, a paper hangs with a strange symbol written on it. Heather's screams can be heard in the distance, so we run toward her. The sound design here is among the best I've ever witnessed in a game. Eerie noises play in the distance, among the constantly blowing wind. As we play, we constantly hear the player character breathing heavily, as if he's terrified. Probably because he is, and I don't blame him. Leaves crunch beneath us as we walk, and occasionally we hear something snap or crunch, somewhere it shouldn't, as if we're being followed, which results in running feeling uncomfortable. The point of view is narrow, and as we move, the camera shakes heavily. All of this culminates in gameplay that, while still enjoyable, is anxious and difficult. As we explore, we come across this old graveyard. Nothing bad ever happens in a graveyard. This gravestone appears to have more odd symbols around it, and as we examine it, in the distance we hear... Eventually, we come across this stone pillar. At first, it appears like a tree, but the blood and odd chanting tells us to investigate it more. Doing so, we can see that there's a glowing red symbol on it. And finally, we find the house. Heather can be heard screaming inside, so Daniel, with his titanium testicles, goes inside. Lights flash and the room shakes as we enter. The door closes and locks behind us. As we exit through the other door, things start to not make sense. There should be a hallway here, the one we were just in, along the stairway and the door. But instead, there's an empty room. It's a known fact in just about every video I make that I think jump scares are lame.
Randomly throwing a cheap jump scare or jump scare doesn't mean is a very...
However, I also think that there's a time and a place, and I also think that the meaning of a jump scare is greatly confused. Just because it makes you jump does not mean it's a jump scare, and just because it's a jump scare does not mean it's bad. A bad jump scare is one that's obnoxious, a painfully loud noise accompanied with something jumping at the player, along with, importantly, very little build-up or warning. I've said it before, but the best way to describe a bad jump scare is simply the word cheap. A great way I've heard to describe overused jump scares is like a comedian tickling the audience to get them to laugh.
Who said stop, Boston Beach? Stop?
It requires no skill, no effort, and is the worst kind of scare. Furthermore, I wouldn't venture to call this a jump scare. Sure, it may make you jump, but the noise it plays is short and relatively quiet, and the scary figure remains still. If you want to call it a jump scare, it's certainly a good one. Continuing through the house, we go through this doorway, and we get a glimpse of the pillar from earlier. Moving up the stairs, red light bleeds out of this room, and entering, we see another glimpse of a different stone pillar. Back in the house, we continue through. In the attic, we see a pentagram. A body appears for a moment before disappearing. and then we see another strange pillar. Strange symbols appear covering the walls. Heather's screams can be heard once more toward the basement. Once inside, we walk around this corner to see Daniel, the player character. We wake up on a strange altar, the cult leader next to us. In the distance, a portal opens, and from it walks
Welcome to Kitty Card 64!
The game opens, and we begin driving. Treating this like a regular racing game, we drive around the track, however, the flag is broken and our laps aren't counted. So we go off track. Near this tower, we can find a crashed cart, and if we drive up to the top of the tower, we can find this drawing. As we get further from the track, the music slowly fades out, until eventually, all we can hear is the engine of the cart. Eventually, we reach the edge of the map, and with nothing else to do, we drive off. We land in this odd, muddy area. As we explore, we can find this girl hiding on top of a pillar.
Ew! Why are you still down there? I hate getting mud on my shoes. There's no way I'm letting you up here. Go away! You'll get mud on me too!
If we continue exploring, we can find another drawing. Eventually, the cart will sink and we'll be sent to our next level. Over in this pond, we can find this rabbit character.
Are deserts supposed to be hot? I can't feel anything at all. Not even the wind.
As we continue on the track, eventually the music begins to glitch. The map begins distorting, textures disappear, and geometry goes missing. As we approach the bunny a second time, it's now curled up on the ground.
I can feel something now.
Now the music is gone. The map is hardly holding together, and missing textures are everywhere. A garble of screaming and glitching plays constantly. Everywhere we try to escape, building blocks fall and block our path. Eventually, the screaming stops, and we find the edge of the map. We arrive in an abyss. Balloons are scattered everywhere, among text misspelling congratulations. As we pop balloons, we can hear children cheering, but occasionally blood will spill out and the cheers switch to wailing. A baby's crying can be heard in the distance. Distorted singing plays, and then we find this mouse character.
Who are you? Please help me! I'm not supposed to be here! Wait! I'm not ready to wake up!
Among the balloons, we can find this trophy, and 2 more drawings. Eventually, our cart pops like a balloon and we're sent to the next stage. A large, confusing set of roads. As we travel along these roads, we can find this cat character fishing. His text is garbled, there's nothing to make of it. We can also find him standing beneath this streetlight, but again, we can't tell what he's trying to say. Another artwork of the cat can be found, along with this one of what looks like a crying lamb. As we descend on the roads, we eventually make it to water, where we find the cat again. We then find a ramp, so we go off the edge into the next level. We arrive in this empty, endless parking lot. As we drive, we find this red arrow pointing us in a certain direction. Following it, we find this large structure. By it is a puddle of blood filled with teeth. Going inside the structure, we're guided down until eventually we see the finishing flag. Just before we cross, however, our tires get popped. Unable to move, we sit while this entity approaches. The most important part of making a horror game is making it fun. I do not care how scary it is. If the gameplay isn't entertaining, then the game won't be fun to play. If the game isn't fun to play, people won't play it, and if people won't play it, people don't get scared. And this doesn't mean the game needs to have super awesome gameplay mechanics. There are plenty of good horror games without that. Rather, at least, the game needs to have a captivating narrative in order to make the gameplay rewarding. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna go to my cave and rub the blood of an entire deer on my eldritch crystal abomination so that it doesn't brutally eradicate me. What have I gotten myself into?